All right, guys, thanks for checking out the channel. Check it out. Today I want to talk about what I think are the 4 aptitudes that you need to get better in Jiu-Jitsu. If you have any other comments as far as what people need to get better at Jiu-Jitsu mentally, go ahead and leave them in the comments in case I left anything out. But one of the questions that I get often are, what are the things that a Jiu-Jitsu practitioner needs in order to get better at Jiu-Jitsu? And I'm not just saying last a while in Jiu-Jitsu, because a lot of times you need resilience, in my case, stubbornness. You need all sorts of mental characteristics to last a long time in Jiu-Jitsu. This video is strictly going to be about what the 4 aptitudes are you need in order to accelerate much faster than the average person. And I do think there are a few traits that every other person must have in order to get better faster at this sport. Okay. Before I get into them, as always, make sure that you please like and subscribe to the channel. There's also a copy of my free book in the description. Check that out if you want to get better faster at Jiu-Jitsu. So let's get into the 4 aptitudes. For one, I think memory. Memory is really important. I was listening to an interview with John Danaher. He said that perhaps Gordon Ryan's best trait was his ability to recall information. And I do think that from a mental perspective, learning Jiu-Jitsu, the better you can retain and recall information when you need it, the better you will be in training. I know for me, I've got a pretty decent memory. I'm the type of person that can watch a technique once and internalize it. I'm not as great as a lot of people out there in terms of internalizing techniques. Oftentimes I'm off in the weeds in my own head, not paying attention to what's being taught in class. But if I see something once or I hear something once, I'm generally able to recall it, especially if it's relevant to my game. And I'm also pretty good at eliminating the things that are not relevant to my game. So if I hear something that does not resonate with me in my game, then I don't necessarily try it. I don't really care about it. I immediately let it go from my memory. Now, the next thing is one that I think that I'm probably really good at. And if you ask me about my strengths, I will tell you hands down that this is probably the best thing that, from a mental aptitude perspective, this is probably my best trait. It's intuition. I think that people who are intuitive, just naturally intuitive, tend to do better at Jiu-Jitsu because they're able to figure out the deeper meaning behind why we do everything, okay? So what I mean is, if you take a look at the Myers-Briggs personality stuff, if you believe in that kind of thing, intuition versus sensing is how we process information, okay? Somebody who is more sensory-oriented is going to pay attention to details and facts about a particular thing. People who are intuitive are going to look for the meaning behind the thing, and that's probably one of my faults in life because I'm always overthinking everything. But in Jiu-Jitsu, what happens is when I learn a technique or when I learn a particular concept, I have a deeper understanding of what that what that concept or technique is, or the positional stuff, because that's just how my brain processes information. Now, people who are more sensory-oriented, they may get caught up on the details or the facts or the random minutiae of the actual technique and not be able to apply it. So for me personally, I think intuition was one of my biggest strengths, still is one of my biggest strengths in terms of Jiu-Jitsu. Maybe not so much in life, because I overcomplicate things, I think a lot about things, but I'm able to think deeply about the things in Jiu-Jitsu that help me get better. And I think that for a lot of people, that aptitude is really important. The third thing, and I think this is huge, is pattern recognition, okay? The ability to recognize patterns is huge. And the reason why is because people are creatures of habit. We like to do the same things over and over and over again, and often wonder why we're getting the same results, okay? What happens in Jiu-Jitsu especially is you'll see, especially in my students, I'll see them make the same mistakes over and over and over again. I ask them why, or I show them how to correct it, and the mistakes still happen. The reason being is we're just stuck in patterns. And if you can spot patterns well, or if you can spot patterns easily, then you're able to manipulate your training, you're able to manipulate your opponents on the mat, and you're able to figure out what somebody's about to do next, because if they've done it once, I can guarantee you they're probably going to do it again. On the other end of the spectrum, you can use it again to manipulate your opponent, because if you do something once, they'll expect you to do it again, and this is where you can play the game of doing something different that will cause a different reaction. Okay, so if you know how to spot and identify patterns, you can use it to your advantage, but you can also learn how to disrupt patterns so that your opponent cannot use them on you. And so I think the last thing that the last aptitude that was pointed out by a friend of mine, the last aptitude that people need to do well in jiu-jitsu is the ability to stay calm under pressure. Now, pressure is a big, big thing, and I'm a huge proponent of the idea that enough pressure will make everybody make mistakes. And I do believe that jiu-jitsu is a game of who makes less mistakes, as well as who can capitalize on the other person's mistakes more often. Okay, so if you are emotional, or if you are not calm, you're tense, you're stubborn, you're frustrated, then what's going to happen is you are going to make more mistakes than your training partner. No matter what type of position that you are in, if you can stay calm, then you will be able to make decisions more effectively and more efficiently, and this will get you into better positions by the fact that you're not making more mistakes. Okay. So just to recap, I think that these are the 4 aptitudes that everybody's got to have in order to fast track the jiu-jitsu to get better. And you want to be able to leverage these to your advantage. So if you've got a great memory, use that memory. Watch an instructional, just go right through it. You'll be able to retain it a lot better than the average person. Okay, so that's 1, memory. 2, intuition. If you are intuitive, the way I used it, the way I leveraged my strength of intuition was by simply creating scrambles. Why? Because I knew intuitively where the match was going. If I could create scrambles, then I could get to where I needed to go before my opponent. Okay. The next thing was was pattern recognition. Okay. Again, how you can leverage that is by paying attention to your training partners. Okay. Stay calm. Pay attention to your training partners, see what habits they have, see what patterns they give you, okay? If I go for an underhook and they continue to fight for the underhook, chances are they're gonna keep on fighting for the underhook. So how you disrupt that pattern, forego the underhook and maybe start attacking the hips instead of the arm, okay? Now the last thing that I think is the ability to stay calm under pressure, and you can leverage that by being able to understand that no matter how bad a position is, there's always a right decision, okay? There's always gonna be a right decision. There is no such thing as one technique that beats everybody. If that was a fact, then I would charge my students $1,000. I would teach them that one technique, and then I would never teach them again, because they would already have that one technique that would beat everybody, okay? Jiu-jitsu is a game, and so I move and you move and I move and you move, and if I put enough pressure on you, or if you get tired enough, you're gonna make mistakes. So if you learn how to be calm, you don't have to worry about making as many mistakes as your opponent or as your training partner. So if I left anything out, please let me know in the comments. If you liked what I had to say today, I wrote a long form article on my Substack. You can check it out. I'll link it in the description. Also be sure to like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll post more content like this. That's it. Have a good day.